Okay, in theory, we should be back up and running again. We'll see if chat's working. Oh, I see Luke Greeny is already there in the chat. So that seems to be working again. And if you were trying to say something before, I apologize. That had nothing to do with me. I don't know why that happened, but please repeat what you had to say back in our chat. You know, the only thing I can think of is, you know, I was willing to, hold on a minute. I'm not seeing my video here. It says I'm live. Oh, I might be clicking on the wrong video. Hold on. That looks good. That looks good. Maybe I clicked the wrong thing. That's better. Okay, good. So anyway, Carey fixed YouTube. Wouldn't be the first time. So if you have, so yes, this is the new stream, Jason's asking. So we're just continuing on from where we left off. I played that song in the beginning of that video, which isn't my song, but I don't mind giving the monetization to the songwriter. I can't imagine, that's not a copyright strike. That's not what that is. That would be, hey, you used material that you don't own, so all the revenue from that video goes to that creator. I'm okay with that. So I don't know why they would shut the chat down. It's not a violation. It's already on YouTube. If you take content from another source, like outside of YouTube, and then you post it and it doesn't belong to you, that's a significant channel violation, a big no-no. But sharing another video, you would just give up your monetization. It's not a strike against you or anything. So I don't know why the chat shut down, but that's the only thing I can imagine where they said, maybe I did that to myself. All right. Got to experiment, find out where the boundaries are. And I'm speculating, I really don't know. It could have been just a technical error. But regardless, that's not something I normally do. Mark Gaines says, I have mail. All right, let me check on that, Mark. Oh, here we go. Our friend Mark Gaines with $12.91 says, I'm getting an error message. The service is currently unavailable. Oh, and here's a few dollars for the channel. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I hope we resolved it. I've never seen that ever happen before. I've also never played copyrighted music before. Could those things be related? Maybe. It is what it is, and we march forward regardless. Terrell Cochran with a $2 super chat says, thanks for the video on Windows 11 networking. It saved me time. You know, I've only posted that video 6 times, but I'm glad you finally saw it. So I was thinking about how all that went down yesterday, and I'm like, why are you guys not watching the content? How many times do I have to keep repeating myself? Just search for it. And then I'm like, here, let me show you. And then I searched for it and I couldn't find it. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. And the viewer's like, this was David Graham. He's like, I did search for it. What are you talking about? I'm like, well, this has always worked. I've always been able to search for it. I've always been able to demonstrate. All you got to do is look for it. And then when I went to show, you know, to put evidence, turns out it was not showing up anymore. So what that tells me is the YouTube algorithm is changed again, and it's prioritizing new content over old content. So in order for you to be able to find my content, for it to appear in a search, it has to be the latest. If it's going to appear in the search, it's got to be the latest on that subject. So if I'm searching for Windows 11 networking, in fact, let's just try it now. Let me open up the browser again here, and I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. And this wasn't the viewer's fault. In fact, if anything, the viewer brought this to my attention, and I was not aware that YouTube algorithm did this. And it's likely not going to stay this way. They keep changing the algorithm so nobody can figure it out. And right now, I've accidentally stumbled on it, and I can demonstrate it to you. If we open up our window capture for, let's go in Edge. Let's just open up Edge. Okay. And then I come over here and we go to YouTube. And I want to find that networking fix, right? That I've published, I don't know. I've published it about 6 times. So if we look and go, CareyHolzman is the name of the channel. And the subject is networking Windows 11. But you know, what you're searching for and what you're typing, what search words, it's pretty rare people are using the exact same term. So I'm trying to put it as generically as possible. Now, notice what's coming up is what's the most recent. Even though it has nothing to do with networking, it catches the Windows 11 that I typed up here. It catches CareyHolzman. And the first thing it's showing me is what's the most recent. So if I publish these videos 6 months ago, but other people have covered the content since then, the same subject matter, you're never going to see my video. So I have to post it again, and boom, there's the video I posted 22 hours ago. Now, I'm not logged into any YouTube account, so there's no predefined cache or search history. This is a generic search on an uninstalled or unlogged in account. And notice what's showing up is based on age. Now, I don't expect it's going to stay this way very long. The fact that I'm even exposing it, YouTube is probably, if they're aware that I just exposed this, they will probably instruct their algorithm team to immediately change the algorithm before all the scammers and people out there looking to manipulate the system start taking advantage of this. Because the minute YouTube notices a bunch of people taking advantage of this, or they're aware that I've exposed it, I'm not breaking any rules, but YouTube is not going to be happy. So they will change it in order to keep people guessing so that they cannot take advantage of it. So we just accidentally stumbled on the current configuration of the algorithm, which is always changing, but the frequency when the algorithm changes is partly due to how much it's being exploited. So this is an exploit that people can take advantage of right now. Well, the algorithm's acting this way. And it's a massive disservice to content creators whose older content is not appearing. This is, in my opinion, a bad algorithmic choice that is against the creator. They're prioritizing newer, not just keyword matching. It used to just be, show me videos with this subject matter I've typed up here. It used to work that way. Now, unfortunately, for me, it's then also associating how old the video is to determine what order it shows you the content. So just so you know, and just so I don't just talk about it, but I prove it. See what I do? I prove things, live demonstrations to back up my words that you can easily verify yourself until YouTube changes that. If you're a content creator, I strongly recommend that if you see an advantage to knowing this, better take advantage of it while it's available. Again, now that I've exposed it, the minute YouTube is aware of it, and they're going to be aware of it one of two ways. One, someone's going to tell them. But talking to YouTube is all AI now. You can't really talk to a human anymore. So likely that won't go anywhere. What they'll see in the algorithm is they'll see a bunch of content being posted in order for people to sort of bump, if you will, their video up to the top. And once they're aware of that pattern, they'll change the algorithm. So it's a temporary boost you can take advantage of if you want to, if you're a content creator. And all of that I, Inspector Clouseau'd my way into was me initially going, why are you guys not searching my videos? Like, I don't understand. That explains it. So, yeah, thanks and a shout out to David Graham for sending me down that road, because I was very baffled and confused. And again, we can talk and talk and talk, but until we can actually give a live demonstration, that's what had me convinced. Like, that's when my mind went, oh, wait a minute. Me assuming that David didn't search for it was based on old information on how the algorithm used to work. I didn't know the algorithm changed in a way like that. So when I did my own search to replicate, look, let me just show you how easy this is. and it didn't work the same way it's worked in the past, imagine how I felt. Wait a minute, this isn't the way it used to be. What's changed? And then I figured out exactly what's changed. They're now prioritizing not only your search word terms, but the date. If the content is newer, it's preferred by the algorithm, even if the content is less valuable. Because the AI would assume that the most valuable content should be the most viewed content. That's the way it used to work. The more popular content, just like Google search and Google owns YouTube, the more popular video matching those keywords would come up first. Not anymore. I mean, it brought up one of my first videos. It doesn't know it's me looking. That only has 6 views. But it's the live stream we just posted. And that's #1 search result. Is that the dumbest thing you've ever seen? It's ridiculous. But there you go. Evidence provided. I can't imagine they're going to keep it that way for long. That's way too simple to manipulate. And Terrell Cochran said, well, I knew you did the video last night, so I just went to your channel instead of Googling it. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the Google wouldn't have shown you it. It's not working the way it used to. So it's all good. Nobody's done anything wrong. I just assumed, you know, I've seen the same question over and over, and it's always like, what, did you search? No, I didn't search. Well, here, let me show you how easy it is. Only this time, even though it's worked that way all the other times in the past, it changed. And I didn't know it changed. So there you go. Is that me on the thumbnail? Well, it's my face. Jim wants to know, does that search behave when searching within your own channel's videos? I have a problem with YouTube searching through my videos. I have to use a creator studio command to filter out words in order for that to work. I think I have far too many videos for YouTube to index, and when I do a search, for me personally, when I search my own channel, the search freezes, it locks up and shows no results. But if I filter results using the creator side of YouTube, I can then appropriately find what I'm looking for. Unfortunately, I can't verify. I haven't verified because I'm not that interested. What I want people to do is to just click the search on YouTube. You should not have to click on my channel first and then go. It's too many complicated steps. Most people can't be bothered, especially if they're watching on a TV or something where they've got to use a remote to go through all those different menus, and most people don't know how. Most people don't even know it's possible. But they can hit the little microphone button like on a Fire Stick remote and say, you know, CareyHolzman Windows 11 Network. It'll fill in the YouTube search from their voice. And that's what I want working. And that's why I want it working. More and more people are watching YouTube on their TV. How many of you in the live chat, out of curiosity, are watching my video on your television? All right, let's see if we have any other questions. I'm happy to entertain any questions you guys have for me today. And then if there are no more questions, we'll wrap it up. So let's take a quick look. Peter says I can also clear my history, and then the most played videos will be a new algorithm. Yeah, I haven't tested that because I don't want to clear my history. I'm signed in with a creator account, and I don't want to have to go through all that login and two-factor authentication and then wipe out all my history. I want my history, but that's interesting. Terrell Cochran says, I watch on TV all the time. Well, there you go. So he likely doesn't have a keyboard and a mouse. He's likely using a remote control. And if that's the case, it's going to be discouraging and disparaging to try and use an on-screen keyboard and type all this in versus, you know, let alone having to go into submenus within menus to go to the search to the channel specifically. That would be far more difficult to navigate on a television. So that's why I really I don't know, and I don't really care if that works. That's far less of a priority for me. So again, the answer will be I don't know. Outback Bob says he's watching on a TV. The Killer Bee said he's watching on his TV. Romex says he's watching on TV. See what I'm saying? Like, so many people watch YouTube on TV now. Most of those people do not have a keyboard. And if they're typing in the chat, they're likely using a mouse and selecting an on-screen. How are you guys typing? Just tell me. I'm guessing you're using your remotes, but maybe some of you have Bluetooth keyboards to your televisions. I mean, it's a thing. Paul Connolly said, thank you for another great stream. I hope you both have a great weekend and Memorial Day. Thank you, Paul. Especially Paul knowing about Memorial Day, because Paul is in Australia. It is not Memorial Day for them. Sometimes other countries, they have holidays I don't know anything about here in America. So when other countries know about the American holidays, I'm like, oh, it's interesting they know. That's cool. Depeg says, I watch on my TV, but I type on my phone. So does that mean you're sharing the video from your phone onto your television? Or are you opening YouTube on your phone and then opening YouTube on your television and you're in it twice? RLD said, when I watch from my TV, it has a Bluetooth phone app. Oh, okay, for LG, and I can type from my Android keyboard. Doman 2000 said, serious typing needs a keyboard in a computer. Well, there are text limits in the chat. So, but that's I agree with that. I wouldn't want to not write a novel on a cell phone. Lar the Bear said, I'm typing on my phone, but what? Oh, so this is like a thing, I guess. I only have YouTube open to chat. On YouTube, I rarely chat. Oh, so you're watching your TV, you don't normally chat, but if you do want to chat, then you're using your phone, but you're still watching on TV. Huh. Delwin 2000 says you can log in at the same time with several devices. Yeah, that's why I was asking if they were running YouTube independently on their phone and independently on the TV, or if they're using like mirror casting to send this, you know, like with my phone, with my Fire Stick, my Fire TV, there's an option on the YouTube app to send this to my Fire TV. I didn't even set it up. It's just intelligent and it sees it on the network. I go, yeah, and then the TV automatically reacts. In theory, I could play videos on my neighbors' TVs who have that turned on, like they're connected to their network, and if I'm connected to their network and I can see their TV, I can interrupt whatever they're watching with whatever videos I want to play on their TVs. That's the way my mind works. It's broken. The Killer Bee says, Apple TV YouTube app connects to my phone. There you go. It's not the other way around. The YouTube app doesn't connect to the TV, but the TV app connects to the phone. Because I would do it the other way, but I'm fascinated by this. Andy says he's watching more on his TV than he would have thought. Terrell Cochran says that's what I would do if I want to chat while watching on my TV. I use the phone's YouTube app to chat. That's awesome. I appreciate knowing this because I don't know how you guys are watching me. More and more, YouTube is reporting statistically through their own analytics that the number of people in general around the world watching YouTube are doing it more and more on their television. It's starting to, that's the only part of the pie chart of all the different ways people watch YouTube that's growing. All the other ones are shrinking. Not saying they're going away, but the thing about watching it on YouTube is bigger than it's ever been, and it appears to be continually growing. And any other way of watching YouTube is getting smaller. I think that's interesting. And I was just kind of curious how many people that watch my channel, if they fit that analytic, those analytics that YouTube sent me, if that applies to my audience. It appears many of you are, in fact, far more than I thought. Now you're going to make me self-conscious about, geez, what do I look like on a 60-inch TV? Yikes. I don't want to think about it. The Killer Bee says, when I open the video stream on my Apple TV, it asks, do you want to connect to your phone? Interesting. My TCL TVs don't do that, but my phone does it the other way. Do you want to watch this video on the TV? So Samsung has a TV app. Samsung has a YouTube app, and LG has a YouTube app. TCL, Sony, all of them. But they're not necessarily the same YouTube app and how they work. In Apple TV, I don't know nothing about that. No idea. So if you don't tell me, I don't know. Jason Wyrick said 75% of the time he's using his phone to watch YouTube videos, and 25% of the time he'll use his PC or laptop. I primarily only use the, now I think about it, I use my phone sometimes, I use the TV sometimes, and I use the laptop sometimes. And I don't know that I use any one of them more than the other. It's probably equally a third all the way across the board. But if I'm watching on the TV, I do not engage in chat. Nor do I want to. Because a lot of what I'm watching on the TV will be me lying in bed with the remote going, oh, there's a car chase in Los Angeles. And there's a bunch of nonsense happening in the chat room, flying across the just nonsense, just babble. And it just won't stop, and it makes the screen smaller. The actual thing I want to watch is the car chase. So I close the chat out. I don't even want to see it, and then I can use the entire screen size to actually see the details of the video. I have no interest in what the viewers have to say. They have nothing useful to contribute. It's, you know, political nonsense, off-topic nonsense. They're just pounding on the table to get attention and say, look at me, and it's distracting from the content. But normally I wouldn't watch like the car chases. They're almost daily in Los Angeles now on my phone because it's too small for my eyes. It's from a helicopter looking at a car. You know what? I need a bigger screen, but I don't want the chat. So now that I think about it, I use the TV for some videos. I use the laptop. It depends on the time of day. If I'm out and about, I'll use the phone. If I'm just looking for something to do, if I'm in a waiting room or something. And even then, I probably won't play YouTube video because I don't want the audio to, I think it's rude to do that in a public space. I don't bring headphones, so there's no way for me to listen without turning the audio off and putting closed captions on. So normally that's not what I do when I'm away. But in the evening when I'm winding down, YouTube is a definite go-to for me on the television, just to scroll through the channels that I follow. And if it's a channel that I feel like I'm being heard, I'll post a comment. But most channels, they don't respond. And I figure, why bother? If they're not responding, it's just participating in, I guess you might feel good to say what's on your mind, but the only other person that's reading it is another commenter. Likely getting a response from the creators, very unusual. There are people that do respond, though, pretty regularly. You know, our friend Scott Merrill, it's quite frequent. You see his response to comments. Ask Your Computer Guy. Doug Betts always responds to comments. Mike's Unboxing responds to comments. Robbie over at Naz Compares responds to comments. I got great respect for people who do that. For the people who only respond to 1 or 2 out of thousands of comments, it might as well be 0. You're not treating everybody equally. I don't think that's cool. But I just won't participate. It's not like I'm not going to watch their video. I just know better than to waste my time talking to a wall. So for most channels I watch, I don't leave comments or participate. I just watch it. I'll give it a thumbs up if I like it. And if it's outstanding and I think, wow, this is really well done, I'll say, hey, well done. I still don't even get a thumbs up on the comment. I don't think the content creators care. But if I have something positive to say to the content creator, I will say it. If I have anything critical, I'm probably not going to get a response, so why bother? The only person that's going to respond to me, if I get a response, is another commenter. I wasn't interested in talking to a random commenter. I was trying to talk to the creator, but the creator ain't listening. That's generally the most videos I watch. That's the way it is. However, I really do value and appreciate when creators take the time to respond, because I don't expect it. And it really means a lot to me, because I know how rare that is. So, whoa, you know, NAS Compares responded to me. How cool is that? The Tin Man said he watches YouTube 95% of the time on his television. There's a lot of TV watchers out there. That's just interesting. I had no idea. I knew there was a few, but I would have never guessed that many of you just on a random question would respond, yeah. See, if you don't ask, it's just in my imagination until I verify it. All right. Mark Baggett renews membership, now a member for 39 months. Right on. Thank you, Mark. Tepej became a renewed membership for now 32 months. Right on. Thank you. I think that's Alej Tepej. And he mentions some of those features are only available on the Android version of Google TV. Yeah, well, like I said, there's even between TV manufacturers. Samsung will have their app. LG will have their app. Mike McRae said he's watching on a 65-inch TV in his living room. And Jim in the chat says, well, those big TVs explain why they think you're 4,000 pounds and 10 feet tall. Now it's all starting to make sense. The Killer Bee says, I can see the painted texture on the wall. Well, don't make me self-conscious about the texture of my face. Terrell said he's using a Roku with the on-screen keyboard or voice microphone. I don't hear much about Roku these days, but I know there's still some people out there using them. Mark Gaines said his computer is connected to his TV. Best of both worlds. All right, so unless there's other questions, I think we'll wrap it up. But if you do have any questions for me, I'd be happy to address them. LRCX renewed his membership. That's Larry out in California. He's now a member for 27 months. Thank you, Larry. Bajin Guy said, I watch YouTube on my TV sometimes. Scott says, thanks to Carey and Marlena for a great stream. Right on, thank you. Andy Kane said, I'm using a Fire Stick and a cell phone. And he uses the cell phone to text in the live chat and the TV to watch the video. So I guess a lot of you do that. I didn't even know that was a thing. Never occurred to me to go the other way. I always send it from the phone to the TV. I never thought about sending it from the TV to the phone. I might play with that later. Maybe that's something I need to adopt. All of you can't be doing it wrong. I usually pick one or the other, so I never thought about going the other way on it. Luke Greeny has said the Ace Magic TK11 he's got is attached to his television. He does all of his streaming. There is a, and I'm not endorsing this and I'm not encouraging you to buy it, but I just want you to have the information. if I come over here and go to eBay, something was brought to my attention today, and I've been on the fence whether or not it's worth discussing. But I guess if I provide the information to you, you have the option on what to do with the information. If I withhold the information from you, you'll never know I withheld it, but you also may not, I might be stealing from you an opportunity that you might be interested in. The whole thing sounds sketchy, doesn't it? Let's see. Go to eBay and we'll type in Camrui N95. So this is the Camrui outlet store right here. So you're buying it from Camrui. It is refurbished, and it's a budget entry-level computer, the N95. It only has 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig solid-state drive with Wi-Fi. It's an older model. There must have been something wrong with it, or somebody returned it and it had to go through refurbishing, but it was worth refurbishing. They won't spend $200 fixing a $100 computer. And it's listed here for $105.99 with free delivery in the US and a 20% off coupon, which I don't know what the details of the coupon are, but I think you can pick this up for about $95. So sub $100. But you don't have the Amazon 30-day guarantee, right? So yeah, this coupon code is, I guess, the 30th of the month. Happy 30th of August, I guess, because they haven't been around 30 years. So if you add this coupon code, which I don't know that it'll let us do that. Make offer, add to wish list. I don't know where you put the coupon code in. It might be at the checkout. This comes out to about 95 bucks. All right, so whatever their return policy is, it's not Amazon, okay? On the other hand, it's a lot cheaper than Amazon, and that's why I was on the fence. Do I even want to talk about it? I don't know why it's separated here. I wonder what that's all about. That's either the biggest mini PC I've ever seen or the tiniest helicopter. Anyway, that's what you'll search for on eBay. Pretty easy to find it. It does have Windows 11 on it. And you know what Windows 11 is worth just by itself. It said they have more than 10 available. There's 23 that have been sold. They would likely sell more if more people knew that that was $95. So there you go. Presenting that information, and you can decide if that has any value to you, especially if you're looking for a cheap box for a family member that doesn't do much online and you want to get them out of Windows 10, for example. This is a very cheap way to get through that. I suppose there must be a return process if the unit you received is bad. It probably doesn't have a very long warranty, but it's also not a big investment. And likely it'll be fine. Like, I would imagine the likelihood of having a problem, if it's working when you receive it, it's likely going to work for a very long time. And so I would say, even if it fails after 12 months, you still got your money's worth out of it. And even then, it's probably not normal. It would probably last for many, many, many years if it's treated right, if it's kept in a proper environment, and it's not abused or knocked around or spilled on. It likely, statistically, should last many years. And then those that don't work will likely not work right out of the box, and they'll have a return process, because otherwise, well, it's going to affect their eBay rating to the point potentially where they're not allowed to sell on eBay anymore. But it may not happen quickly, right? With Amazon, you can immediately get something replaced. I have no idea if it's quick or not. So I'm going to assume the worst at that price and say, worst case scenario is you might have to return it and get another one. But likely, that's not likely, but it is possible. And whatever that process is, I don't know what it is and how long it takes. Could be similar to Amazon. It could be 10 times long. I mean, I just don't know. If you decide to buy one, we'd love to hear your experience about it. least we have a baseline for any future offers from the Camrui outlet on eBay. Andy says, and you can put a 2.5-inch drive in it. You shouldn't, but you can. Yes, it does appear that way in the photos. I noticed that too, and I didn't say anything. Okay. See, even I'll still withhold information if I think it's a bad idea, but I should just tell you, this is information, and then say I think it's a bad idea. You got me on that one. John Williams said he recently hooked up the CyberGeek mini PC to a television in the bedroom, and it's working great. What is eBay refurbished? It means that a seller on eBay is selling refurbished items. So eBay has a category called eBay refurbished, meaning it's the manufacturer or an authorized refurbisher. It's not just me refurbishing something. Like, I can still put it in the title, but if it's the manufacturer, if it's Newegg, that's the retailer, or if it's the manufacturer like Camrui, and you're buying it from this reputable source, likely that refurbishment is held to a higher standard, likely, than if Joe Schmo has a used computer that they have refurbished. That would be categorized as used. These are refurbished, which is not the same, primarily because a manufacturer won't sell a used computer. Only a private party sells a used computer. The manufacturer sells new and refurbished, and usually they don't even sell refurbished. What happens with refurbished computers is they're often sold off to another third party that does the refurbishment, and it would still be refurbished, but not from the manufacturer. The warranty and any issues would be dealt with that refurbisher. Amazon's the same way. You can look, Amazon likes to use the word renewed. Same word, refurbished, renewed. And it will have a warranty, especially if it's coming from Amazon and it's Amazon renewed, then you have all the peace of mind that it's the process of returns are free and everything's the same as new, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The price is cheaper. It's common sense. If somebody sends something back, if I order a computer and I change my mind, nothing wrong with the computer, I just don't want it. Or maybe I don't like the color. Maybe it's too loud. I don't know, whatever reason I have. Amazon isn't going to put that in a box and put it back up on the new shelf. It's not new anymore. It's been opened. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with it. So they'll inspect it, see if anything obvious is wrong with it. Just in case there's something less obvious and there is a problem they didn't realize, you have the full return period of 30 days. No problem. No different than if it were new. Could have a problem in the box. You know what I mean? No one's ever looked at it. So at least with the refurbished units, somebody's looked at them. That's more than you can say on the new product. Okay. So they'll list it as renewed, but why would you buy it renewed? If you could buy a brand new one for the exact same price, why would you buy one renewed? So how do we get people to buy them? Lower the price. Oh, by how much? Just depends. Some days it may be $2. Other days it could be 40% off. So it's up to you to decide if it's worth it. But that's why there's two different categories. If you're okay with renewed and you have the same return, and it's only the difference is you're spending a significant amount of money, or saving rather a significant amount of money buying it renewed, why wouldn't you? The same peace of mind guarantee. On the other hand, if you just hate the idea that somebody else touched it and you think it's gross, pay the extra money and buy it new. But that's incentivizing you to buy refurbished by reducing that price. They're not legally required to do that, but why would you buy it at regular price? If a new one costs the same money, why risk it? So that's how that works. Not a law, it's just the law of business. All right, I don't see any other questions here. Terrell Cochran said my eBay says it'll be $84.95 with a coupon code. And if that includes free shipping and you're getting it for 85 bucks, is that something you'd buy? I wouldn't buy it, but I don't have any use for it at any price. But you might, and that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention. Again, it's not buying from Amazon. I don't have that same peace of mind. It's a little bit of a risk. But because it is coming from Camrui and they are a reputable company, my only concern is if there is a problem, what's the delay? There may be no delay. I'm just assuming the worst. But if you end up buying it, we'd love to know how long did it take you to get it? Did you have any problems? And are you happy with the purchase? And would you buy another one? I'd love to know. So for anybody that buys one, really appreciate if you share your experience of what the purchase time was between when you purchased it and when you received it. If you had any problems with it, and if you did have problems with it, were those problems resolved in a timely manner, or are they still unresolved? Because that'll help guide us in the future when we see more offers, because there will be more offers. And at least from Camrui, we'll have a better expectation. You know, it's still sort of anecdotal. We don't have a lot of data, but at least we have actual data, which is better than zero. All we have now is feedback to look at on eBay from strangers. So just keeping that all in mind. Peter says, it's also funny when you buy a house, it's usually used. Yeah, and worth a lot more money because the cost of real estate keeps going up. You're right. We do look at that differently. We wouldn't pay full price of a brand new car when buying a used car. But on houses, we'll pay more when it's used than when it was new, simply because of the economics changed. All right, it's just about 3:30 here in the afternoon in Phoenix, and I just wanted to let you know there's going to be more videos on the whole SSD thing. And just keep this in the back of your mind when you're watching those videos. And also, if you want to test it yourself and film it, regardless if your results are successful or not, that you've made the attempt, share the video link with us so we can watch it and we can ascertain, especially if it fails, what you specifically did to recreate that so that we can recreate it here on the channel. Because if I'm aware of a way to recreate that, I absolutely will. And the only reason I'm not doing it is I don't think it's possible. So that's why I'm putting it on you. Prove me wrong or give me some guidance so that I can replicate that here on the bench. And I promise you, we will do it. But until then, as far as I know, it can't be done. Romick wants to know when the next PC build will happen. We don't have any build scheduled at this time. I don't know. Did I see Gamers Nexus talking about Bloomberg taking down their video? Yes. It's very concerning. I am glad Gamers Nexus is a consumer advocate, as Louis Rossmann is, and I appreciate the efforts that they put forth in doing what's morally and ethically right, even if legally it may be determined to be illegal. I would say those laws are unethical and immoral. And working to get those laws changed is important. When companies abuse YouTube's copyright system, it is YouTube's policy to ban those companies from filing any more false takedown requests. It's actually illegal to do it. It's a violation of US law. But for some reason, UMG seems to have their hands in the pockets of the government in controlling the laws. They pay to support representatives and lawmakers under the condition that they vote in their company's favor. Then they'll spend money to help get you reelected. And if you get reelected, you'll make sure to stand behind this particular law we want passed. If you won't promise us that, we won't provide any money to your campaign, and your likelihood of getting elected is zero. The average person like you and I has no say in the lawmaking. We don't have any lobbyists, maybe the ACLU, but nobody's lobbying for the citizens. Corporations and religious organizations with millions of dollars will contribute money to who they want elected under the condition, oftentimes, especially with large contributions, that when we do this for you, you're going to do something for us. And to hell with everybody else. The constituents don't matter. This is what's best for our organization. And we want to make sure that you're going to protect our organization. If you won't make us that promise, we'll find somebody else who will, and we'll give our money to them. So it looks like UMG is completely exempt from the laws that everybody else has to follow with regards to enforcement on false copyright takedown requests. If anybody else did that, they'd be banned from filing any more takedown requests, and they would be cited potentially legally. And there's just a few very large corporations that is not being enforced upon. The rules don't apply to them. Subjectively, they are deciding not to, they being YouTube and the people in charge, don't want to upset the people with all the money. But if anybody else does it, the rules apply to you. It's messed up. So in that case, it's immoral and it's unethical to choose who the laws apply to. If they don't apply to us all, regardless if you're a good person or a bad person, regardless of your intent, the rules are the rules. And there's no exemption simply because you match a certain description, gender, or identity. It's equal for all of us. But things change when you're deciding who's getting elected and your financial influence can dictate that person's career. If you support them, they're probably going to be your best friend, and the citizens don't even matter. If the company paying the bills wants one law for me to stand behind, in exchange, I get to control all these other laws. Would you, in that position, just think about this from the other side of it. If there's really important laws that you want to see passed, maybe child kidnapping, something really serious, abuse to animals, you want to see this have a more strict zero tolerance policy with more enforcement and bigger penalties. In order for you to do that, you have to be elected. In order for you to be elected, you have to have people contribute to your campaign. The more money you put in your campaign, the more likely you're going to be elected, because that's how Americans are. So if a company that you don't give a rat's behind about, like let's say Universal Media Group, says, we want you to vote on this specific law that protects us from people using our content, and you're like, what do I care? I don't care. Yeah, I'll take your money if that means I can get into office and actually also vote on all the myriad of things that are important to me. It's a trade-off. I get that logic. You're going to give something in order to get what you want. But in the meantime, all the citizens that are affected by those decisions, those sacrifices that person is willing to surrender to, is really against all of the citizens they're there to represent. But then the company can say, we're citizens too. What about us? We don't count? We don't count as citizens? Okay, well, they have a point. I don't know. I think morally and ethically, we're guided as citizens, us. And morally and ethically, they're guided as corporations under a different set of values that we don't agree with, but aren't invalid. So guys like Louis Rossmann and guys like Gamers Nexus, they're not in the position of all that money. Because if they did have all that money and they were responsible to other people with all their money, they might just find themselves on the other side of the fence if they want to keep that money. Maybe, just maybe. But because the vast majority of us are on the other side of the fence, I certainly appreciate their advocacy looking out for the citizens, because the big corporations and the big religious organizations are only looking out after their own values. That's it. That's pretty much all they care about. And from their perspective, that's the right way. It's not that they're wrong, it's just hard to relate to because they represent a tiny fraction of the population. And Louis Rossmann and Gamers Nexus are representing the bigger portion. So I like to see that. And at least these are people that have big enough channels where they can back up their the false accusations levied against them with attorneys, because that's expensive to defend yourself. Most content creators wouldn't have the budget to afford an attorney. These guys do. Rick Beato does, for example. Without those attorneys, they'd effectively be shut down, bullied out, with no defense. And even though they potentially did nothing wrong, they have to spend money to prove they did nothing wrong, and they will likely never get the money back. They lose no matter what happens, they lose. Romek wants to know, can you do a video about different types of Ethernet cables? So we did cover this in the past. I don't remember when I did it. But essentially, when you're looking for the information on category 5 versus 6 versus 7 versus 8, this content has been done so well by others. I couldn't do a better job than they already did. So what I would recommend is refer you to somebody who did the job already. And because you may not know, hey, who's more accurate here, or who's representing the data better, I'll tell you who I like. Let me go over to my window capture again. There we go. And we'll just go up here to YouTube and we'll type in networking cables. Let's see. This PowerCert animated videos is very well done. It's all just animation. I don't know who the person is behind this, but they do an excellent job. The other one, anything from PowerCert animated videos is good stuff. But I will also say that Theo Joe, as I recall, had a great thorough explanation of this. There we go. And this is 8 years ago. Nothing's really changed. There's been no new Ethernet cables in the last 8 years. And there's one more. Well, Theo Joe talks about the SFP Plus, which has been used in business for a very long time, but most home consumers have never seen it or only recently been introduced to it. And then there was one other one. You'll see the Theo Joe video shows up a lot here. It's in a lot of playlists. I mean, Tech Quickie is good for news, but this person, Riley, he's not a technician. He's reading a script. And sometimes the information he reads is incorrect. And they don't edit the videos and fix it. They'll just put a note in the comments with the video description. So I'm not saying he's wrong, but he's not talking from experience. So I wouldn't go to him. Nothing personal. I really like watching him. Yeah. Even this one, if you're interested in 10 gig over a Cat5e cable, because you're supposed to need 6A for 10 gig, but will it work? People say no. Theo Joe says the results will shock you. I haven't watched this one because I wouldn't bother. My network's too important to not spend $2 on a new cable. I wouldn't spend thousands of dollars on a 10 gig switch and a 10 gig network card on both sides, you know, the switch, the device I'm sending to, the device I'm sending from, spend all the hundreds or thousands of dollars to upgrade that equipment, and then be too cheap to replace my cables. That doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, would it work? It'll kind of work. All right, let's go back over to camera 1. And I appreciate your question, and I hope that that will answer the question for you very thoroughly. Peter says he hasn't watched Theo Joe in years. He finds him weird. Well, then just watch the PowerCert animated videos. You know, people are people. Some of us don't like somebody, and we can't even explain why. You just go, I don't like that person. That's fine. Don't watch them. There's no shortage of information on the difference of cables, and that's why I don't feel it would be worthwhile to remake what's already been done so well. I won't do as good of a job as they've already done, in my opinion. And Wolf's friend says, everyone have a great holiday weekend. Thank you. Yes, please. Those of us in the US, I hope you have a great holiday weekend. And for everyone else, a great regular weekend. Romex still talking about cables like paired and unpaired. I don't know what an unpaired cable is. I have no idea. I've never heard of such a thing. He said shielded and unshielded. Yeah, shielded is typically used in more industrial type installations, not in typical consumer applications, unless there is a pretty unusual scenario that would require shielded cable. It's definitely more expensive and more difficult to run because it's thicker and less flexible. However, some people are just overkill and they want to put shielded cable in everything. Better safe than sorry kind of an attitude. I only fix problems that exist. So when it comes to shielded cables, we don't use shielded cables beyond the normal cables. If I'm running it outdoors or running it underground, if I'm running into or beside electrical cables and there's nothing I can do to reroute the cable away from light fixtures or away from the electrical lines running down the wall, I will have to use shielded cables or the cable will never connect at 10 gig. It just won't do it. It's too much interference. If I move it away from the interference, there's no reason for the shield. The shield is there to protect you from interference. If you have no interference, there's no reason to put the shield in. The shield can also help for the longevity of the cable, meaning if we're putting it outdoors and it's in a conduit or in the ground, a shielded cable is just built stronger versus a regular cable. So a regular cable will probably work, but over the time that it's in the ground, it will likely fail due to the environment causing premature failure of the cable, like extreme heat or moisture, where a shielded cable would be beneficial. On the other hand, there are also shielded cables specifically designed for outdoor use that have like a dielectric grease in them, and it gets all over your hands. It's really gross, but it's water resistant and it's designed to withstand the elements. So then that's a different cable for a different scenario. Overall though, most people, especially on YouTube, they're just in their house or they have a small business. And so whatever cables you buy are probably going to be fine. If it's Cat 5 or above, you're probably fine. Most people don't run 10 gig, and until you run 10 gig, it doesn't really matter. Then most people are going to buy on price after that. What's cheaper? So if there's a specific thing about cables, like you're trying to, if there's a reason why you're asking, I'd like to know the reason, and we can isolate down to that level to explain what would be a best use case or recommended use case, in my opinion, for whatever it is you're trying to overcome. But if you're just curious and you want the education, I definitely recommend Theo Joe in the PowerCert animated videos do a very, very good job of explaining it. They're very thorough. They're both very well done. Peter says he's made videos say you should wrap cables with aluminum foil and that it'll be much faster. If you can show me that video, I'd like to see it. I've never seen that before. Also, people grow and learn. So if he made a video 15 years ago, you know, he may not believe that today. I don't know. But you can tell me what somebody did, or you can show me. So if you have a link to that, please send it to our email. I'd like to see it. Because I'm not getting the whole story here. And remember, the industry changes, right? So it may have been, if somebody recommended a workaround to shielded cable, it may have been because shielded cable was so hard to get and so expensive way back then. But today it's relatively inexpensive and a lot easier than doing it the other way. So times have changed. And there might have been a reason why we did things 10 or 15 years ago that we don't have to do it that way anymore. And the reasons regarding availability, pricing, the world's changed a lot. So he might not have been wrong all those years ago, given all of those circumstances. But until I see the video and understand the context and the time that it was made, I wouldn't dismiss that. I need to understand what's behind that. And what world was he living in at that time where that makes any sense? And until I see that video, I don't have an opinion, but I would assume benefit of the doubt. Jason Wyrick said Theo Joe did make some goofy videos. Again, you guys can sit there and keep saying it, but if you can't show me one, and I can't understand the context in which the video was made, I can't agree that they were automatically goofy. They might have made perfect sense, but now they don't. When they made perfect sense 15 years ago, it may not make perfect sense today. Or maybe he was entirely clueless, but he's not today. That's all I can tell you. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think it was excellent content. But if you have an example of that, I strongly encourage you to please email that to me. I would love to see it. Shabir wants to know if I suggest storing data in OneDrive or is local storage better? It's really your decision. It's really up to you. Is it better, to have chicken or steak for dinner? I mean, I don't know. It's really up to you to decide whatever works best for you. What's important to me is that you have copies of important data. I don't care where those copies are. What I do care about is people that don't make backups. And then they have a drive failure due to a Windows update. And they freak out because, oh my gosh, I lost everything. There's no reason anybody should lose anything for any reason, as long as you have a backup. It's irrelevant how you made the backup. Flash drive, locally on a NAS, cloud server, I don't care. Have a backup. That's all I care about. Unless you don't care about losing the data. Thank you for asking the question. And yeah, just do what's best for you. But do something. Jason says he'll send me the link when the stream ends. Yeah, I appreciate it. Please do. Peter says, I've got so many weird videos of Theo Cho. I will send them via Facebook Messenger. Please do. Yes, I would love to see them. It sounds quite entertaining, but I'd also like to take a perspective of when those videos were made and what the world was like when we were living at that time with regards to, could the average person buy a shielded cable or whatever he's talking about. We have to keep in mind when the video was made because he may not be wrong. On the other hand, I might just agree with you. That's some really goofy stuff, but I have to see that to make that determination, and I'd love to see it. Romix said, I wouldn't use OneDrive because I forget passwords and I'm too lazy to use RoboForm. That's fine. And you accept your consequences for the decisions you make. That's not my fault. When tragedy strikes and you lose everything or lock yourself out, you know what you did. I had nothing to do with it. I can only advise you. You end up doing whatever you want to do. It don't bother me none. Unless you think you're a victim. Because I'm just trying to help you avoid those kind of anxiety-ridden panic attacks that are easily avoided with a little bit of effort. And if you don't want to put the effort, you must like anxiety-ridden panic attacks. Well, there you go. Don't complain about it. Apparently you wanted it. You got what you wanted. We're all happy. All right, that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you so much for watching. I apologize for whatever happened in the live chat earlier, but it is what it is. Not a big deal. And again, if anybody can demonstrate the Windows update causing a problem, please do. Please demonstrate it with details on how you made it happen so I can replicate it. And if you can kill your drive by doing that, send me the drive and I'll send you 2 new ones of the same drive. Okay? That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you again for hanging out. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I should have a network attached storage device I'm super excited to get my hands on. I need to set it up for a customer. So I figured, why not make a video out of it? I hope you'll join me for that tomorrow at 1 o'clock, unless the NAS doesn't arrive. It's supposed to be here. So hopefully it will arrive on schedule and we'll have that content for you tomorrow. If not, we'll do something else tomorrow. Either way, we're live tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the super chat and support and membership renewals. And a special shout out to the contributions from Mark Gaines, Charlie Purdy, very generous from Charlie Purdy. Of course, our friend Buster. And all the super chats, David Graham, Luke Greenia, all you guys, thank you so much for continuing to support us here. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hope you'll be here. Until then, and on behalf of Mara, who again I have to thank for all of the administrative work she does with like the creation of today's thumbnail. Pretty nice, isn't it? And setting up our video description and answering all your emails. A shout out to her for all the work she does here behind the scenes. Until next time, bye for now.